What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Box Out Boys podcast. We are the NBA podcast of the people. Your home for lukewarm takes and substandard analysis. I'm Titus Two Shots Dominguez, and joining me tonight, it's Chris, the Stats Man Gorman. Hit it with the stats, Chris.
Hey. All right, there's a stat going around about Scott Foster and Chris Paul being 0-14 lifetime. The correct stat is actually 2-15 all time. It's been 14 straight, which is still insane.
Oh, wow.
But I just wanted to correct it for everyone else that's been seeing that stat. It's 2-15 all time.
Wow. We are all echoey. Also getting minutes tonight. It is the lawn boss, Joey McCrowski. Get that, Joe.
Hello, everybody. Go Bulls.
Oh, man, the energy.
So excited for this Bulls game.
So excited. He says we're all waiting for the 8:30 start.
I'm not getting pumped up for it yet.
He's not getting pumped up for it yet. It's a little bit off our regular time, so things might be a little weird tonight. But we're gonna push through it. We're gonna have some fun, and cleaning this up in post will be the no boy, Adam, the professional Bruns. How the levels tonight, Adam?
They are sparkling,
shining, doubling up. That's all kinds of fun. We got a lot to talk about. First week of the playoffs is in the book. The series are getting going. Some wild upsets recently. Phoenix Suns going down in game 2. What else do we have happen? I mean, Atlanta's down 2-0, but we're going to talk about all that. We got 5 starting cues to get us going with that. We'll get some takes. So let's go ahead without any further ado. We'll jump right in. Our first question of the week. Will Ja's game translate into the playoffs? Chris, let's start with you on this one. You're the homeboy for Minnesota.
This is kind of a trolly question, I feel like, because it's like, well, of course it'll translate, but like there are some obvious misses with his game right now. He can't consistently shoot a 3. Like, yesterday he was 2 for 4. You know, and Io DeSunmo, I thought about, like, he kind of shoots like Io, where I remember watching him in the regular season. He shot like at a 40% clip, but when you watch him put it up, you weren't thinking it's going in. And that's how I feel like with Ja. And I still feel like that with Ja. If all you can do is get to the basket, there are some games you can game plan against that and you can beat them. So I don't know. Like, I think what's going to help the Grizzlies really take over the series is Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks stepping up, because those guys can shoot. That's kind of the name of the game. And that's my trolley take on this.
No, I kind of agree with you, because we were kind of talking about, obviously the way the series is going to play out. Minnesota and everything. Minnesota takes game 1, probably one of the bigger surprises of the early first round so far. But Memphis comes back game 2, blows them out, looks a little better with it. Like you said, everybody else was shooting, but I was noticing that kind of Ja's game is kind of interesting, because he attacks the basket. He's looking for a lot of contact. The fouls aren't the same. I don't know how much he's relying on free throws just in general, but I don't think he's much of a,
He only got to the line 4 times yesterday. 20 times though he got to the line in the first game.
But it's definitely different. He scored more in the first game in the loss than he did in the win. But it is weird to see him when he's kind of, everything's going to the basket, everything's into congestion. It is interesting if that's going to play out, how that's going to play out as he goes further. I think it's going to be okay in this series against Minnesota, but as the game slow down a little bit, get a little more half court sets, like you were saying, Chris, his shooting just isn't, especially from 3-point range, isn't as deadly as it really needs to be. Yeah, he hit the 2 yesterday and looked pretty good, but the first game he hit 0, and if he's not shooting effectively, it definitely clogs a lane up for him. Joey, have you been locked in on Memphis, Minnesota? What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I think it's ditto to what you guys said. Like, his game can't be just one dimensional, right? There has to be those multiple angles to what he can do. In a one game kind of thing in the regular season, it's easy to get caught up in it and let him kind of do his thing. But in the playoffs, right, when you have 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is, to prepare for this guy night in and night out, like Chris was saying, like, you can come up with a scheme to shut down one of his things. Like, you're not going to stop, you're not going to stop his drives all night long, but you can certainly limit them in terms of, how you're switching and, what kind of double teams you're throwing and, pushing him to certain sides. Like, you can force him into that uncomfortableness and make him have to, shoot the ball, which, as you guys were saying, like, hasn't been the most consistent thing for him. Chris, I'm happy that you compared him to Io. I know you didn't really compare him to Io, but like, Ja and Io in the same sentence. That's kind of fun. So we'll latch onto that.
Io's not nearly as explosive. honestly, shooting wise, they probably are. I want to look into that a little more. They might be similar shooting wise.
They might be.
Wise.
It's probably not that far off. But I think, yeah, like Titus, like you said, like in this series, I think, he's going to be able to do most of what he wants to do. But as this goes on, like he's going to run into some better defensive teams that are going to be able to get in front of him. Chris, like who are the Timberwolves throwing at him to guard him as the number one defender?
The Timberwolves don't really have their offense. Their team is all offense. It's kind of comical. Like Jared Vanderbilt, it should be like that defensive guy because he's the fifth guy in the starting group, but he's really the rebounder. You really look at him to kind of take over a guy. So there's really no one that can really stop Ja. The goal is you can only like outscore him. Like it's just gonna be Ant versus Ja this whole series. So
I think that's pretty much the point then, right? Is he'll get through in this series, and I think he'll get through.
You guys keep saying this. He's not gonna get through this thing.
I think he's gonna get through but no, I think it's gonna be a battle. Like the blowout last night, it looked a little ugly for Minnesota, but I'm not worried at all about Minnesota. Like they're gonna come back. It's going back to Minnesota right now for games 3 and 4. They're going to be ready to go. I know Anthony Edwards didn't have a great game too, at least early on for sure.
No one had a good game early on. There were 65 points scored in the first quarter. 27 of them were from free throws.
It was
the first quarter took like an hour. It was
a rough game to watch. But I think kind of comparing those two stars, I think you're right, Chris, is going to be Anthony Edwards versus Ja in this first series. And you just see how much harder Ja has to work for his points than Edwards does. He's getting his shots on jump shots, and he's looking like an effective player, even though his game 2 wasn't the greatest. I think when he gets back on track here in game 3, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for sure.
Yeah. Last point on this, we can move on, is the Timberwolves. The reason why they really won the game yesterday, they had 4 guys off the bench in double figures with Clark, Tillman, Zaire Williamson, and Tyus Jones. I don't know if that's going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
Xavier Tillman looked fantastic. Brandon Clark has looked really good this whole series so far. So are we going to get a 40 piece from Ja? Probably not. Like I would be surprised. And that's why I think he might be a little limited in this playoffs because he can game plan like that. But yeah,
it's definitely something interesting to watch. I think we'll see how his game translates. All right, moving on to our second question of the night. Who's more underrated right now? The Miami Heat or the Philadelphia 76ers? Both up 2-0 in their series. A lot of people had predicted that Toronto would at least give the Sixers a series, if not win the series outright.
We almost all took Toronto. Thankfully, I swear. Let's not be too.
Let's not be hasty. Going last, how it goes. But I think we were all pretty sold on Toronto, and then look what's going on. They don't look like they're really going to compete with Philadelphia. I think tonight they're up pretty big right now, up 15 with about 7 minutes left in the first half, or 7 minutes to go in the first half. But kind of curious how that's going to go. And then Miami is kind of handling Atlanta pretty easily. I know the game 2 was a little closer, and Trey had a better game, but it still was pretty easy. Joey, let's start with you there. Who is the more underrated team right now? Those teams are not really getting the buzz that the other teams in the East are getting.
Yeah, I think it's the Heat are more underrated. I think the Sixers, just with the fanfare around Embiid and Harden, like there's more of that expectation that they're going to succeed. I think everybody kind of like with Miami getting the first seed, like I feel like nobody was really talking about them as the number 1 seed. Everybody was talking about the race for like 2, 3, 4 behind them. It was Boston, Milwaukee,
avoid the Nets race.
Right. Like who is like one of those teams is obviously like your number 1 seed. It didn't come out that way, but like they're like, in theory, your number 1 seed. So I think Miami is kind of just like flying under the radar. And I think, last week I kind of mentioned like there may be the Suns of the East in terms of like team basketball. Like they have the positions kind of filled out and they can move the ball and they have pieces in a lot of different places. That seemed kind of on display last night. Obviously Jimmy went off for 45, but Bam was playing well. There were a couple putbacks that he had, a couple flushes. And Lowry is kind of their like veteran presence who's been there and done it. They kind of just got it all coming together, but for some reason, like I still think everybody's so focused on the giants of these, the Brooklyn, the Milwaukee, and Philly. So Yeah, we all took Philly. Well, Tyson and I did, or Toronto, but I think that was more of a personality thing. Just we don't like Philly versus an actual stats based opinion.
Chris, what do you think, man?
Yeah, like I think we didn't want to take Philly. Fortunately, I did because they're a boring team to watch. Like there was a meme. I don't know if you guys saw the meme yesterday. I think it was Harden and Embiid on the ground, like spread eagle.
Yeah,
like,
I seen that. Yeah,
like this is guys. The peak of... Like, is this really it? But I think when you think about the other three teams in the East, you got you rather have Giannis, Durant, and Embiid over Jimmy Butler. Yeah, even though Jimmy Butler just dropped 45. Maybe Jimmy Butler will prove that. I think the most underrated team is still the Sixers. And I think what's fun about this question is that we'll be able to answer in round 2. Expecting both those teams, if they win, they'll play each other.
Yeah.
In round 2, with the Sixers, the one thing that wasn't really, I didn't really think about was not just how Harden doesn't really show up in the playoffs, but it's that Tyrese Maxey could really explode and become a name, and he's becoming that what Markelle Fultz was supposed to be for Philly, and it's really showing right now. And so if he continues that, there's no stopping Philly, at least in the first round. So I like Philly a lot. I think Philly can legitimately win it because of having a big guy like Embiid and having the weapons in Harden and Tyrese Maxey coming in. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think this one's a close call for me as well. But I think I lean Sixers as the over or the most underrated team. I think one because they were predicted to lose, or at least predicted to lose this series.
They were the sexy favorite, favorite
upset.
to lose.
Yeah. They were a sexy upset. People wanted to pick against them, and I think we are kind of forgetting in sort of the drama of Harden and all that mess that Embiid is still an MVP candidate, and when he's a dominant player, they have a shot at least to make a run to the conference finals. And like you said, their path goes through Miami, which is, again, another underrated team. So we'll find out pretty quickly.
One thing about Miami that I forgot to mention when I was watching the game yesterday, I forgot how thick Kyle Lowry is. The dude is just like a bowling ball of an NBA player.
He's a different kind of big man.
He's a big man.
He was trying to beat everyone yesterday was trying to beat up on little Trae Young there. Poor guy.
Bum. The guy's a bum.
He's so fun.
Trae Lillard.
Trae Lillard. I love that comparison. In our chat, Joey made a comparison to Damian Lillard that he went to the conference finals one time and will be first round exits from here on out. Please make my.
I'll just say that to someone who is he 24 years old?
He's young. Yeah, I know.
Anyways,
Trae Young is young.
It's always fun when Titus and I can team up against you, Chris. It's
Joey likes it. Bring it. You guys know my passionate disdain.
I know. Last time this happened, you guys got those jerseys.
Good point.
Fair. Touche.
Facts. Yeah.
It did not work out for us last time. All right. Well, let's move on. There are a couple of series that were predicted to be pretty dominant
lopsided
wins. Yeah, pretty lopsided. We want to see. All right. Our third question tonight is who has the best chance of making their series interesting? Bulls versus the Bucks, Raptors versus Sixers, who currently are up quite a few points here in the game 3, or the Pels, who are going up against the Suns, got the surprise win over the Suns in game 2, and Devin Booker's out for the next 2 games potentially. Chris, let's go to you on this one, man. Who do you think has the best chance of making a series interesting?
Yeah, man. Going into the game yesterday for Pelicans Suns, if you put $100 on the Pelicans to win straight, you would win $400. And obviously with Scott Foster coaching, 13 consecutive losses with Chris Paul.
Wild.
Felt like a good bet, even though, Devin Booker was going to go for 60. It felt like in that game. He was killing it. I texted you guys. He's better than Zach LaVine. It's done for now.
That's no question.
It's so annoying watching him, trying to not root for him because he's just he's lights out. He hits everything, and then, unfortunately got hurt. I hate seeing the Stars go down. Even if I want them to lose, I'd rather see them lose healthy.
Yeah, with their guys.
But the Pelicans got some guys. They got Herb Jones, Jackson Hayes. They're really stepping up. Larry Nance Jr. I saw him hit a 3. I didn't know he could do that. Trey Murphy the third has been a great rookie. They got some rookies that they took in the later rounds. Trey Murphy the third, Jose Alvarado are doing really well. Devontae Graham off the bench. He's really fallen out of favor with this team. props to them getting CJ, because that really
that really helped
re-energized
them
this
out.
team and kind of showed like, hey, if they just had Zion at the 3-4 spot, this is a legitimate title contender. But right now, without that, it feels like they could maybe get an upset, in a round or two. So,
but yeah, you're taking the Pelicans to kind of.
Pelicans, 100%. Raptors. I'm looking at the game right now. Pressures of Chua, OJ, and Anunoby are doing things. I'm not that excited about. I'd rather,
not seeing it.
I'm not seeing. I like Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. Those guys scare me more than whatever the
Philly's
Raptors have.
Crawling back. They're only down 8 now. As we're still in the first half, and I don't know. This could be a Philly won 2 games pretty easily, and maybe got a little comfortable. So I'm not surprised that Toronto's coming out of the gate hot in Toronto. Joey, dare we ask you who can make this series interesting?
You may ask me. It's not the Bulls.
Oh, wow.
So quick on the Raptors, right? So Philly kept their home court advantage. I think Toronto hasn't had playoff basketball in their arena in what?
It was 2 years, 10 months, and 10 days.
Wow. Yeah, so there you go. So I think maybe they're getting a little home court boost tonight. They needed it from their fans. I'm guessing they're probably getting a pretty good boost there. Drake's probably, got everybody going.
Bandwagoning.
Got everybody. One of the No Dunks guys saying they were like, "Hey Drake, we need your help. We need you to take Harden out to some of the establishments around Toronto and show them a good time." I think if the Bulls could have won their first game on Sunday night, they probably would have been the take here, because I think there would have been a lot of pressure on Milwaukee. They obviously didn't do that. So I was kind of thinking like the Bulls could I was like, oh man, the Bulls can just go back. Like it's close by. They can get home for 2 nights. They can watch a ton of tape and get back in this and find those little mistakes. And then in my head, I was like, yeah, the Bucks don't have to watch any tape. Like they can just go out and they could just go out and do it, right? Like they don't have to really game plan for this. So I'm not quite there. I think I'm with Chris on the Pels. They obviously stole back home court advantage here. Devin Booker's down for 2 games potentially. Ingram seems to be on a tear to start games. Like the guy just from the last playing game or the second playing game that they had, and then the first 2 in this series, he's just kind of doing his thing. He looks confident. Looks good. McCollum is kind of your tried and true, your kind of tested veteran there. And yeah, it's just kind of clicking for him. So without Booker, I'm slightly concerned for the Suns. I don't think they lose the series, but in terms of making it interesting, I could see the Pelicans getting 2 more games and this being a Game 7 type scenario.
Yeah, I think it certainly could be a lot longer than the Suns thought it was going to be early on. I think than what the experts are seeing, especially with the Booker injury. I will make a small argument for our Chicago Bulls.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, you know what?
Oh, boy.
I liked what I saw in Game 1. As far as... I mean, here's the thing. The Bulls played horribly. And they should have won that game, in my opinion. I think... I know what a lot of people say, too. The Bucks... You got to get them in Game 1. That's kind of been their MO the last couple playoff runs, which is fine. I think that DeMar is going to come back pretty solid. Zach's going to come back pretty solid. And if they can play up to the level that they have played earlier in the season, and maybe that first game not getting blown out, maybe gave them a shot in the arm. I feel like, everything they said after the game was kind of the right mindset of hey, DeMar said, I'm not going to shoot that bad again. Trust me on that. So hopefully that comes true. I certainly think they're still going to sneak a game out. I think it's going to go 5 at least, but I could see them getting 2 games, even still. We'll see how it goes tonight. If tonight they get run over, I might change my tune in the recap. But
are you thinking? I think the best way to look at this question is who's the team most likely to make their series a 2-2 series?
That's a good way to look at it.
Right, and you're kind of hey, the Bulls can make it interesting 2-2. Maybe.
I just think that they miss a lot of open shots. And if they make those shots, they win Game 1. And I don't think they're going to win tonight, but I think they could win Game 3 for sure. And in my head, I go, all right, had they won Game 1, it would be a 2-1 series, or it would be a 2-2 series going back to Milwaukee, and it would be kind of interesting. So I'm kind of hedging a little bit, thinking, hey, these guys probably are only going to get 1 game in this series because of the loss in Game 1. But I think these games are going to be closer than what we're thinking they were going to be. and I think
they
could sneak one. Yeah,
the spread is 9.5 right now. So,
tonight tonight's the one I'm nervous about. I think tonight could get out of hand, but we'll see. We'll see how the Bucks come out.
Take the points, make the bet.
All right. Well, moving on. I almost shouted out one of my players for the next question, but question number 4: who is the biggest X factor player that can swing a series or change a series? Joey, let's go to you on this one, man. What do you think? Who is your guy in any series that you think could potentially change something?
Do you have the same player in mind that I do? Does it have to do with the last question? Should we say it on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3.
Vooch?
Kobe White. Oh.
You guys are silly.
You guys
are so silly.
You're so silly. All right, go into a joke. I don't know you're going to go Kobe White, but go ahead.
All right, I'm going with Kobe White. So
the
Bucks. Hey, X Factor.
What is happening right now?
I've been preaching him as the X Factor player all season.
I'm rooting for the Bulls. I believe in the Bulls. Joey's believing in Kobe White. What is happening right now?
I think I've always agreed that he could be the X Factor off the bench, right? I've always stood by that. My issue was that he's not the starting point guard for
way too many minutes.
Yeah. So the Bucks are, I think, top 2 or 3 in the league in 3 points shots and points from 3-pointers allowed. We saw Kobe go on a run there in game 1. I think it was 9 unanswered points. He was stroking it, and
got hot.
They don't have a lot of 3-point shooting right now without Lonzo.
True.
Vooch doesn't need to be shooting 3-pointers.
You
need him getting down the paint, doing his thing.
Line it up, Vooch.
Kobe needs to come in off the bench, and he needs to take 10, 12 shots like within the offense. Like, I'm not talking dribble up and jack up bad shots, but like if he's getting the ball with an ounce of space and he's got a look, he needs to be shooting them and make them kind of come out and kind of change the dynamic of this game. I think that opens everything up. It starts getting some cuts. It starts getting some movement. But we can't rely on, Levine and Caruso to be carrying that load. Kobe's supposed to be your 3-point shooter. It's time to do it, right? He's your X factor. If he goes off in a game here and gets you 20 plus, I think that's probably a game that the Bulls win. And hopefully that builds some confidence and keeps him going.
All right. You know what? I can see it. Go ahead, Chris. Give us your X factor player.
I jokingly put Kobe White in here on my list. My other jokingly one was Ben Simmons. Apparently, there's a rumor he's going to come back for game 4.
Yeah,
you're not in your head.
Celtics are in trouble. Celtics are in trouble.
So Celtics got to steal this one. This game's close right now.
Yeah, it ended up getting close. So.
But my X factor, I think this is I still consider this an X factor, is D'Angelo Russell. The guy's got 11 points in game 2, 10 points in game 1. Imagine this guy getting 20 points a game with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns getting their points as well. You're not going to beat this team. They're going to combine for at least 60. And he's supposed to be Mr. Clutch. He's always showing up in those key moments. I want to see D'Angelo Russell come out here. So I look at him as kind of like the X Factor kind of player. If he gets hot and takes over some games, Minnesota's running away with this, so.
Yeah, he's definitely a dangerous player. I like where you're going with that. I had a couple of players. Vooch was probably my joking player, I guess. He had 24 in game 1. If Zach and DeMar get things right, like you said, Joey, if Kobe's coming off the bench and looking all right, if Vooch is a 20-point-a-game scorer in this series, that gets real interesting real fast for the Bulls. But we'll see. I don't know if that's to be believed. But I think the players that I kind of circled in my head were this one's probably pretty obvious, but Jordan Poole in Golden State, and this is more for I think a playoff run. Mm-hmm. If he's doing what he's doing in the first 2 games, he had 30 and then 29. If he's that guy, holy crap, the Warriors are real good, real fast.
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD is a very, very scary lineup, and the Suns you could potentially get them in the second round. That is not a team you want to play in the second round. That is wild.
Yeah, you might be right. That might be, if he's hot compared to D'Angelo Russell being hot, who's a scarier team? It's definitely Jordan Poole and the Warriors.
It's true.
Steph had 34 off the bench in game 2. So if and Clay starting to kind of round into form,
it's so crazy. Like
it's nasty, man. If you have like that lineup with it's Draymond, Wiggins, Poole, Clay and Steph, holy crap, man. I don't know. That starts to get scary for every team in the West, let alone a finals run. So, and especially if Poole's playing that great. The other guy that I kind of highlighted in my as I was watching games, was Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench in Utah. He had 21 in game 2 that they lost, only 10 points in the game they won. But if he's scoring 20 points off the bench for them, it gives them another offensive threat. I think that's a nice.
If he's scoring 20 points and Utah can just guard the perimeter, a little bit. Maxi Kleber went 8 for 11 from 3. Dude shoots typically 34% on the season, and 7 of them were uncontested. So it's like just get out there, put a hand up,
put a hand up.
Like,
I mean,
come on.
We'll see. Because has Luka been rumored to come back yet at all? Or
maybe game 3. It sounds like very likely game 4.
Okay. So I mean, I think Utah really should have concentrated on one of those first games.
Nobody's happy with Utah. Jalen Brunson just made a bag of money after the game. And that was ridiculous.
That's tough. It was pretty tough for Utah. I just want to point that out. But those are my X Factor guys. I like who you guys picked up. And I guess this fifth question here, we can go to our last question. Kind of interesting now that Booker's out, but can anyone beat the Suns in 7 games? That was after game 1. We kind of put that in the rundown.
Yeah, this was before the Booker injury.
Before the Booker injury.
Could beat him in 7. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But I guess maybe more just in general, are there any teams now that you've kind of seen after the first week of games that kind of look like maybe a little bit better than you thought, or maybe surprise you a little bit and you think maybe give the Suns a run for their money? Joey, what do you think, man?
I think Golden State is number 1 on that list for all the reasons that you just laid out. Number 2 is, like, weirdly for me, the Mavs.
Ooh, okay.
Maxi Kleber, kind of like, I don't know, like, to me, like, having him being able to spread the floor and get out for those 3-pointers, like, I don't see Ayton being able to cover that. So they probably throw like a Crowder at him. But like, I mean, if he's going to be shooting and making 8 3-pointers in a game or whatever he went for last night or 2 nights ago, like, I don't know, for some reason, like, that just seems like the thing, like the team that could do it. Like, I don't know either if they have a great defensive piece for Luka.
Dorian Finney-Smith. Oh, sorry. You're talking about. I have the same thing, so I was just thinking about what I'm going to say, but you can go on what you're saying.
I was like, I think he's on the same team as him.
I think someone did guard. Oh, I mean, Clay, Draymond. Oh, are you talking about for the Suns?
Like for the Suns, like I just don't know
Michael
if they
Bridges.
Yeah, like I mean, he's a great defender. Like, we'll get to this in a second in defense, but like size wise, like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how he matches up size wise.
Like I just feel like over a series, like Luka could kind of pound him down a bit. But those are my 2.
Pounding.
Just pounding it, stroking it. What else we got?
All the things.
Vooching. No, so yeah, I think the Suns are probably the Warriors are your number 1 likely in the Western Conference to take down the Suns, and Mavs could be a sneaky second pick.
Yeah. I had the same. I picked the Mavs to come out of the West. I briefly talked about that. After this Utah game, I feel a lot more confident in Dallas because they have Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie, and if you had a third, if Luka comes back, that's your Stephen Curry. You have Clay and Poole and Brunson and Dinwiddie. Draymond Green on for Golden State is like Dorian Finney-Smith for Dallas. He's that good defensively. And then, just plug in some pieces. You mentioned Maxi Kleber, Trey Burke off the bench can, do some damage. Bertans didn't hit a shot in game 2, but he can hit shots sometimes. So I like Dallas a lot, and they can definitely, if Luka can just be healthy and come back, he's the best player in any series. So
I was, as you guys were talking, I was kind of thinking that something that gets real interesting real fast. All right, let's say the Suns survive this Pelican series, get out, and then they face the Mavs. Let's say in round 2, and then potentially, or would they be playing Golden State?
No, yeah, they would. They'd play. Yeah,
they play the Mavs.
Yeah.
All right, so the Mavs and then Golden State potentially in the conference finals. The Suns don't have the best player in either of those series if Luka plays, even if Booker's healthy. I think Luka's the best player, and then you got Steph as the best player in the next series. Those are 2 tough matchups for them. So
I think that's why I've always been hesitant to take Phoenix in this whole time, just because it's like, they're good. They're the best team, but they don't have the best player. But... And when it comes down to it, when you're grinding these playoff games, Really, it's the players that step up. Like when you watch that Utah game, you got Brunson and Dinwiddie back and forth for the last 5 minutes of the game. On Utah side, it's supposed to be Mike Conley, but that man is 34 years old. He's done.
Hey,
he looks 40. But so you got Donovan Mitchell taking the ball up, but when it's not him, then you have Bojan Bogdanovic, who's doing fine, but it's Bojan Bogdanovic. He shouldn't be the second best option for the team that's supposed to go far in the playoffs. So,
yep, I agree. I will just throw a team out of the East that is coming to surprise me. It's Brooklyn, man. I'm on the Brooklyn train. You know what? They're beating Boston. Stamp it right now. They're beating Boston, and they're gonna be real tough the rest of the way to go. So that's just
Kyrie's only got 8, and they're still winning.
Jeez,
imagine if that guy's going. Oh man, that team. Oh, they're just scary. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. All right, well let's wrap up our 5 Qs there and go ahead and move on to our next topic. The Defensive Player of the Year award was announced. It was given to Marcus Smart, the first point guard to win it since Gary Payton. Everybody's making a big deal. Chris, let's go to you, man. You had the rundown of the voting. How did it shake out?
Oh yeah, let me pull up that.
Pull it up. Well, the finalists were
voting.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the finals were what? Smart, Bridges, and Gobert.
Yep.
And then the voting shaped out Marcus Smart, Michael Bridges, and Rudy Gobert. And was 37, 22, and 12 first place votes. Bam, fourth with 13. He had one more first place vote than Rudy Gobert. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 10th. Or 5th with 10 votes. Giannis 6th with 5 votes. And then Robert Williams got 1 first place vote. And then we got Drew, Al Horford, Draymond, and Matisse. They didn't, But like when I see that Robert Williams first place vote, how many MVP or how many of these people that vote are in the East Coast that just watch Boston games all the time?
I think a lot.
Probably a lot, yeah.
When I see that Robert Williams one, I'm like, he was a good defender, but he shouldn't be getting a first place vote from any. Whoever gave him that should probably consider reviewing his credentials a little bit. I was trying to be nicer about it, but Marcus Smart's fine. He was a very good defensive player this whole season.
Best defense in the league.
His on off numbers are the same when he's on the court. Defensive rating is the same as when he's off the court because the Boston defense is fantastic.
Yes,
they have Tatum, Brown, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Derek White is a very good defensive player for them. They have some guys to play defensively. Rudy Gobert is still the defensive anchor for Utah. And I think the only reason he didn't get it, he's won the award 3 times. So it's like, well, you can't give it to him again. If you give it to him again, that's 4. Is he really one of the best defensive players of all time? You can't give it to him 4 times. Like, yes, you can. He's that good defensively for this team. And it's just because offensively, he's a tree. He can't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
So I think that honestly, I think his offensive game might have hurt him more, and his reputation. Ever since touching those mics, he hasn't really recovered from that.
He hasn't really recovered. It's a tough one. Even just kind of watching them against Memphis, the way he kind of anchors in the back and deters shots and doesn't let guys get in the paint. He's a great defender. There's no doubt about it. I have my bones to pick with him for sure. So, Joey, what are your thoughts on Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, I think it makes great sense to me. The best defensive team, the best defender on that team should get the award. Skeets on No Dunks went through the last 10 or 15 years of winners, and nobody has won Defensive Player of the Year that hasn't been team defense in the top 4 or 5. So looking back through it, they're all 4-3-2 kind of thing. So I think the biggest gripe for Rudy is, last year the Jazz were the second best defensive team and they slipped to 10 this year. So it's kind of hard to award him something like that again. And then the conversation becomes, is it better to have a better team around you, or for you to get your award to have the worst players, but you're still the top, defender on the team kind of thing. But I think that's kind of more the reason why Gobert didn't get it, because as a team, Bam had a lot of choice words calling it disrespectful and stuff. He missed 30, 40, 50 games or something like that. You can't get that award when you're missing that kind of time. The other thing I think is, I think Draymond probably would have been a lock for it this year had he not missed all that time that he did. But I'm not upset about it. I think it's kind of fun. It's nice to have a non-big man,
a little guy.
And in terms of he's like on a team that plays switch defense a ton, and an NBA. I mean, the NBA does switch defense. Like that's like the thing now. I mean, he's guarding every position, and he does it pretty darn well. And I don't know if there's somebody else that's doing it probably as well as he is. Like if you pull Gobert out to the 3-point line, that's not like that's a win. That's a win for the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I could make the argument for Mikal Bridges just on the fact that he's probably one of the more versatile wing defenders for sure, and gets matched up against the best guys a lot. I know Marcus is a pretty versatile defender himself, so yeah, no real gripes with that one. That would be interesting.
The thing with Mikal Bridges, I just realized he's played every single game that he's been eligible to play since college. So he played 82 games this year. Marcus Smart only played 71. Michael averaged 34.8 minutes a game, while Marcus Smart averaged 32. Michael played a lot more basketball. Like if he wasn't in Phoenix, honestly, if he was in the East Coast, he probably would have gotten the award. But because we have anyways,
there you go. Good argument. Let the hate flow through you. Oh, speaking of the East Coast, Boston's back up too. 7 minutes left. Oh my god, I know, wild. Man. I'm like
Boston's okay.
One eye on it. They're up 4 now.
Boston's up 4. Yeah.
Well, let's get into game 2 for the Bulls here coming up. We'll be back live tonight, 11 o'clock at night. So stay up if you're staying up with us to recap that game. Joey, let's start with you on this one, man. What are your thoughts for game 2? What are your keys? What do you think is going to happen tonight?
I think the Bucks are going to come out extremely strong. I think they're going to try and make up for maybe like the embarrassment. I think they're probably going to take it almost as an embarrassment that they let that game get as close as it did. I think DeMar and Zach have better games. DeMar, the better of those two. I'm going to give him like a 30-pointer here. I think Zach does his normal, 25 and 6 rebounds, 4 assists kind of thing. Vooch is the guy, I think, tonight. Kobe is your X factor, but Vooch has got to do something. He's got to be just a little bit better against Brook Lopez, and he needs to make just some of those tip-in shots that he missed in game 1. Overall, though, I'm going to say the Bucks probably get this one, and then Titus and I bring the good luck on Friday night, and we see the first win in the building.
In the building.
We're going to be there.
In the madhouse. Chris, game 2 thoughts. What do you think, man?
I think DeMar is going to go off. There's been reports about him staying late in the gym, getting up shots. He mentioned, I love the thing that he kept saying, like, I'm going to do better than what I did. It's like, yeah, I hope you do. You shot 24% and you shoot middies all game.
Yeah.
Like, you better shoot better than that. Middies. So I'm expecting a 30-40 piece from DeMar tonight. And then keep, the spread's 9.5. I'm expecting, this is a stay away game for me.
Yeah. It's just,
I'm expecting the Bulls to cover because just show some respect to Chicago. Let's go.
Put some respect on their name. I kind of agree with you guys. I think DeMar is going to come out and be aggressive. Hopefully that translates into a competitive game. I kind of think what you're thinking, Joey, just got to weather the storm early. I think Milwaukee's going to come out red hot. Like they're going to look to put this thing away early. I think they're going to try to make a statement. I think if the Bulls can hang on, keep it close, be down less than 10 going into half, and then kind of make another third quarter push and see if they can't close this thing down. I think it'd certainly be an interesting game, like you said, Chris, to cover the 9.5 points. But I do expect Milwaukee to win tonight. So, but we'll be talking about it either way. Hopefully, the Bulls can keep it interesting, keep it close, keep us awake.
Honestly, if it's that much of a blowout, if the Bulls are winning by 20 and going into the fourth, we should just get on early. If the Bulls are really winning.
If it's a blowout, we'll get on early. So
especially with the Bulls up 20 over Milwaukee. That's what I'm saying.
We got a special guest here.
Are the Bulls going to win tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who's your favorite Bulls player?
Zach LaVine.
Yeah. Who's your second favorite Bulls player?
Nikola Vucevic.
Who's after him? Who's next?
I don't know.
Don't be feeding her lines.
We like DeMar DeRozan. That's right. We do. All right. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Right, girl.
Good job, Piper. For all you, that was Joey's daughter, Piper, making a special appearance on the podcast. Good job, Piper. Deep analysis, just as good as us. So.
Yeah, same level.
Same level. A little better. All right, boys. I think it's a tight one tonight. We'll be back. Anything else, Chris, before we hop off?
Nope. There's Larry Birdle, but let's just get to the game.
Let's just get to the game. All right, guys. That is it for us tonight.
Let's go Bulls.
Let's go Bulls. At least for the main podcast. We'll be back later tonight for the Bulls recap. So join us live tonight on YouTube. And join us next week to talk more NBA basketball, more playoffs. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at the Box Out Boys. Slide in those DMs. Join us live Wednesdays at 8:30 normally, a little early when the Bulls tip off, but we'll see. Probably back to our normal time next week. Send us an email about your playoff predictions, your thoughts on the playoffs so far at theboxoutboys@gmail.com. And as always, like, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to this at now. We very much appreciate it. So for Chris, Joey, and Adam, I'm Titus. Until next time, Box Out! Happy holidays, folks.